The most morning fun is right here.
It's great to wake up to in the morning.
I like the morning show.
Good Morning Westchester on VOX.
1460 WVOX.
Good morning once again. It is 7:36. This is Good Morning Westchester on this Tuesday, May 17th, 55, headed to 72, and it's raining, but it's bright here in the studio. We love to meet new candidates, especially for the honored position of the Congress of the United States. Now, if you didn't know it, in June, there will be a Democratic primary, and one of the people being primaried is Eliot Engel. And with us today is Jonathan Lewis. Now, just a little bit about Mr. Lewis. He's 55. He's a successful business executive and entrepreneur who founded a firm that invests in municipal bonds that finance roads, bridges, schools, and universities. He's an active nonprofit volunteer, a dedicated parent, has served as president and board member of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, the Westchester County chapter. Both of his children have type 1 diabetes, by the way. Mr. Lewis is a former trustee of the American Jewish Historical Society and a staunch supporter of the State of Israel. He is the author of 2 books on U.S. foreign policy and national security issues, a longtime member of Business Executives for National Security. In 2004, he received the CIA's Agency SEAL Medal for his work on intelligence reform. Lewis holds an MA in history from NYU and an MBA in finance and management from Columbia University. Born right here in Mount Vernon, moved later to Eastchester, was involved in Democratic politics there. It's a lot we wanted to say, so you get a little bit of background, but now we meet him. Good morning, Jonathan Lewis. How are you?
Good. I'm great this morning. Great to be here.
Now, the first question I have to ask you, sir, and I do this to every candidate from president to dog catcher. Looking at your resume and the things you've achieved in life, why on God's green earth do you want to do this to yourself?
I think our democracy is breaking, and running for office is my way to stand up and to do something about it. My father was a World War II hero. His brother landed at Normandy. My nephew served in Afghanistan, and I'm standing up to save the democracy that they fought for, because it truly is breaking before our very eyes.
And you're willing to go through this meat grinder that is politics in the current day to do it.
Exactly right.
Well, you get as all candidates do, we commend you for that and for your public service past and for what you might do. Now, in your notes, and I'd like you to elaborate on this, and some of the stuff when we researched you care a great deal, it seems, about campaign finance reform. And the more we learn about it, the more dastardly it looks. Expand on that.
Absolutely right. I have a very personal reason for this. You mentioned I was involved with the JDRF. My daughter walked out of a meeting with Congressman Engel advocating for type 1 diabetics and looked at me and said, "Dad, I don't know that that guy's really with me." And I wondered, what did my teenage daughter catch? So we researched it, and here's what she caught. Eliot Engel sits on the Diabetes Caucus to advocate for type 1 and type 2 diabetics, and he takes money from many sugar PACs. He takes money from many pharma PACs, including Eli Lilly, that's raised the price of life-saving insulin about 300%. Family wages have been roughly stagnant on a real basis for a decade, but the price of life-saving insulin's up 300%. And he's been quiet about all this. I think his voice has been silenced. Only he can answer this question, and I would like to ask it to him directly. But I think his voice has been silenced by the money given to him by the PACs. He represents PACs, not people. And he's not the only one. Congress people across the country represent PACs, not people. And I think that's got to stop. Otherwise, we're not going to be a democracy. We're going to be a corporate state.
Well, you obviously have, I wouldn't say an uphill battle, because you're challenging an incumbent of some now 30 years. I think he did 15 terms. You yourself will need funding, A, as you go through the primary, and B, as you run for office proper. What will you do? Will you use a lot of your own money? You're going to need donors, no doubt.
Absolutely. We've been very successful getting individual donors. Based on my campaign finance reform position, I'm not taking any PAC money. I will not take any special interest money. Yes, I have used a meaningful portion of my own retirement savings to kick this thing off the ground. But yes, I am having success in raising money from individual donors as well. So I intend to fight a very strong campaign through June 26th and to win. And I'm going to get out my message without the help of any PACs or any special interest groups.
We're talking with Jonathan Lewis. He has declared his candidacy in the June primary for the congressional seat currently held by Elliot Engel, who represents this area. Now, what about your current life? You said you're retired. You look young. But are you retired already, or just that you invaded your retirement funds?
So I've invaded my retirement funds. No, I'm not retired. I'm on leave of absence.
Cool.
I'm the chief investment officer of an investment firm that's specialized in investing in infrastructure, public education, universities, as you mentioned. But I am on a leave of absence to make this run. And I think what's notable is the process of running for office. I've learned a lot about how the system is stacked in favor of the incumbent and stacked against challengers.
You know, go ahead. No, I'm sorry, sir.
Running for re-election, Congressman Engel keeps his six-figure salary, keeps his publicly financed with taxpayer money health insurance. A challenger who works for a company has to go on a leave of absence. Otherwise, their corporate salary would be viewed as a corporate donation. So, so anybody would have to go on a leave of absence. And furthermore, when you're on a leave of absence, you have to pay for your own health insurance. So let's talk about the equality of that. The congressperson keeps six-figure salary, keeps taxpayer-funded health insurance while he runs for re-election. Any challenger who works for a company has to go on a leave and earn nothing and pay for their own health insurance.
Now, would you be willing, well, we certainly will invite him here, but do you look forward to debates with Mr. Engel, and has any discussion been had about that?
Yes, the League of Women Voters has extended him an offer to debate, and myself, I've accepted, because I look forward to the opportunity to explain what I will do as a congressperson, which is, one, reorient our priorities from foreign intervention. That's his focus, is the overseas world. I want to focus the job of the congressperson on addressing the imbalances and inequities in our district. We've got some of the best school systems and some of the worst. I want to ramp up in public education financed by the Federal Department of Education to address those inequities. No child should have their zip code determine the quality of the education. Every child should have equal access to an excellent education, equal access to health care. And we want our entrepreneurs who live in this district, across the district, who are trapped in zip codes where there are 30% poverty rates and no access to capital, to have access to capital so they can start their own businesses. We have a decline in small business. Small business should be a Democratic Party issue. Elliot Engel has presided over a concentration of power in big companies. The Democratic Party has been complicit in that. I want to change all that. I want to fight for small business and programs through the Small Business Administration that get small businesses started in this district.
Mr. Lewis, would you be willing to come back and spend even more time with us? Your candidacy is intriguing, not the least of which is there's a lot of passion involved in this. It almost seems as if this is coming out of your heart.
Absolutely.
Well, we'd like you to do that, but we'd also like if you would spend this next minute, when it comes to primary time, why should a Democrat pull the lever for you, sir?
The country is breaking. The Democratic Party is breaking. If we're going to take back the White House and clean up Washington, we have to do it with a clean heart and a clean soul. And we're not going to be able to clean up Washington if our own Democratic representatives are just as conflicted and just as bought by corporations as Republicans. And Elliot Engel is bought and owned by corporations.
Well, Jonathan Lewis, we have to go today, but we'd like to. We'll work with Mr. White. We'll get you back next week if you would come. We'll pick a day that works for you. We'd like the public to get to know more about you. And would you be willing to do a debate on our airwaves if Mr. Engel says yes? Well, thank you very, very much. What a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations for your candidacy. We got to run. We'll be back right after these words.